And here I am, sitting in the dark, consuming, devouring every creative work thrown in my way, taking their idea, their message telling me to do something, and doing nothing. Throwing the lessons on the scale of subconsciousness, nowadays heavily outweighing the other side, real-life experiences. Some kind of balance is needed, but hell, the only contact I had with reality in the past week is within the bounds of my walls and memeing with gamers on Discord. And then, not because of artistic fulfillment, but because I have nothing better to do, I decide to write about it, critiquing works from men who put their all into it, as if I am somebody, taking these profound themes and conveying them, as if I know any better, yet here I am. Just look at me. At some point you have to ask yourself, are you consuming media or is it consuming you, draining your lifetime and replacing it with those of fiction? And then, here's the fucked up part. You are just looking in the mirror. Even worse, everything we losers tell you, you eat it all up, and then spend the rest of the day further consuming to validate your existence. Because no one else does. Okay, I'm exaggerating. I'm just trying to be a bit poetic. And of course, hashtag not everyone, but it cuts close, doesn't it? Boys, unironically, why are we still here? Just to suffer? No. Things need to change. Although the truth is, for me, they already have. Story time. A few years ago, I used to work as a glazier. My everyday consisted of 2 hours of unpaid drive to work, 10 hours of physical labor, lifting glass panes weighing at least 180 pounds. Depending on the architecture of the building, sometimes elevators or cranes weren't available, so we had to carry them 300 steps in height by hand. Hundreds of windows, fucking up my lower back while installing them, and then there was often overtime. Some months my working hours extended to 220. After I was done, there was another 2-hour drive home, at which point the time was 8 to 9 p.m. and fully exhausted from work, I had no choice but to lay down so I could wake up in the next morning rested and ready to repeat the whole thing all over again. Sure, I had money, but what else? Having saved up a decent amount, I quit that job to take some time for myself, and ever since then, here I am. You would think that just about anything I do is better than that fucked up job, wouldn't you? Well, you're wrong. The worst thing for me mentally and physically was doing nothing. Sure, the first few months were great, but soon this innocent break turned into an obsession. I stopped living a life on my own and instead lived one of characters appearing on my screen. In the moment, it's great, but it all hits you when you lay down in your bed late at night, or in my case of fucked up sleeping schedules, 8 a.m. in the morning. Or when you're not in the comfort of your home and people ask you what do you do? When they tell you about what they did in the past week and you remember that you have no experiences of your own. Being a glazier was hard physically, but at least I was outside with nature, surrounded by people, laughing while working, whistling at cuties passing the construction site as if they were Miss Universe walking down the red carpet, and even the hard labor, while straining on my lower back, at least it kept me in great shape overall. At the end of the day, I managed to squeeze in an hour or two of hanging out with my friends, or a few episodes of anime. On the weekends, I would work on my videos, and in the evening, I could go out to drink with my pals and strangers. Now, comparing the two, it really puts things into a perspective, doesn't it? Listen, as bad as I made it sound, I am by no stretch the worst example of this. I was aware of all of this going in, but even still, late 2018, whether I was aware of it or not, whether I wanted to or not, I was starting to slip into that abyss. Having spent the new year alone for the first time in years, I knew that things had to change. I expressed this in the video I made on January 3rd, Marching Towards Greatness in 2019. And so, I did exactly what I said I would. This video being late is partially laziness, I admit. Partially being under pressure because I wanted to deliver big time with this video, which I hope I did. And big part is because I actually got a new job. Because this chapter 6 was part of my plan from the very beginning, I actually needed to get the job in order to finish the script. But once I got it, the time I had to work on this video was reduced to 4 to 6 hours a day, if I didn't use my free time on anything else, that is. Which, for the most part, I didn't. Now I'm working as a tech support for a phone/television/internet service provider company. Yes, I am now the guy who has to ask you if you tried turning your modem on and off. And you know what? Fuck you, that shit works 90% of the time, because turns out most people actually are retarded. Back to the point. Now, I'm doing something. I'm moving. I'm meeting new people, new girls. I like my new job. I'm working on a video that I'm really passionate about, and life is great. In fact, I think I feel better than ever. I'm actually happy. Now, let's tie all of this to Gridman and finally wrap this colossal video up for real this time. SSSS Gridman is a tale of a girl whose life was miserable. Because of that, she started hating her world, got depressed, and turned to escapism. This is all symbolized through the anime by it being an anime. This anime is her fantasy in which she copied her real life but tweaked everything to her preference. But because it's an anime, the people which are programmed to like her are telling her to get out of here, because this place is not only not designed for her, but in fact bad for her. In the end, because she's in an anime, she accepts those lessons, because that is what media does to us. And in the very end, she wakes up with this newfound perspective and is ready to give her own world another chance. I'm sure I don't need to explain. You can probably see the parallels to my story yourself. In the 2 years I was living the NieR lifestyle, if it wasn't for stories like Gridman and being able to express myself through videos, it's likely I would have lost my mind, or at least acquire a very negative view of the world. But it's not Gridman alone that did this. It's good art, collectively, that achieves that. I'm sure that some of you shook your head or even cringed at the phrase, Gainax soul. But to me, Trigger and Gainax are the only studio that consistently and consciously always strive to achieve this effect with their art. Waking up, finding my identity, and piercing the heaven. They are pushing me in this direction, making it seem appealing and crafting a positive image of life. If I didn't consume art, it's likely I would have been convinced otherwise by more negatively minded people who are artistically starved, or at best would have never even thought about what my meaning of life even is. But on the other hand, if you only consume, you're just a bad protagonist of your own world who never faced any real adversity in order to grow. You have to achieve a healthy balance. And when you do, watch shows like Gridman and listen to what they're saying. What I find interesting about Gridman in particular is that the story itself is about it telling you to listen to it. Listen to other stories and take action. And the main action that SSSS Gridman tells you to take is both metaphorical and literal. It all starts with awakening. This is the point of SSSS Gridman. This is the point of anime as a medium. This is the point of art. It is the point of life itself. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for watching.